Hey, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. Today, we are going to be talking with Stephen Paez, who is the owner of Credit Strike, which is a credit repair company, and a friend of mine through a program that we've been doing together. So thanks again, Stephen, for making the time to jump on here with me.
Thanks, Valerie, and I appreciate you inviting me to this. And yeah, I'm excited to give some value.
Awesome. So let's jump right in because I know the audience has been kind of waiting to hear what you've got to say. It's a very interesting topic, I think, for a lot of people. Um, so can you maybe start by telling us a little bit about kind of the basics, like the importance of credit? Why is credit so important?
Cool. Yeah, and just to get started, I wanted to just clarify. Definitely, I know you put on the post I'm a guru. I definitely don't consider myself a guru necessarily. I'm just somebody that has learned from my personal experiences as well as the experiences of my clients and also my mentors. So that's been very valuable to me, and I'm just trying to share that knowledge with anyone that's looking to kind of learn that and use it to help them improve their lives. Um, but yeah, credit is really the basis of kind of what I do. And the reason for that is it's just something that is becoming more and more important in our lives. Similar to kind of what's going on in China, where they have like a social credit score. That's what's happening in the United States slowly but surely. So it's really going to be, it's already affecting the what you could do as far as a mortgage, what you could do as far as a car loan. Now it's affecting your energy bills. It's going to affect if you can run ads on Facebook and other advertising platforms. So realizing that was just something that I wanted to help people obviously understand credit, improve their credit, repair it if necessary, and then eventually use it to their advantage to leverage to be able to start businesses, scale businesses, and improve their finances.
Perfect. And then one thing that I did forget to mention, so you have solar panels behind you. So I know I talked about credit repair, but you've got the solar panels, you've got the really cool, that's actually my favorite color, by the way, the blue. So that's an extra component that you're also in. So you're an energy. I was going to say expert, but I'm going to
Consultant.
stop using that word. But if you could tell us a little bit about that as well, just in case people are wondering.
Yeah. So, and just to give you a little bit of a backstory of kind of how that happened. So, I've been in the credit industry almost 2 years. Although, when I was 18 years old, on my birthday, I applied for my first credit card. So it's something that I didn't know that I was going to be in that industry or in that sector, but it was something that I was very interested in. And throughout the years, I'd always, made sure to get new credit cards, made sure to, maintain excellent credit. And I found myself advising my family and my friends naturally, not getting paid to, but advising them on credit products, where they should get the best, loans or best credit cards that help them travel hack, different things like that. Fast forward, a decade of, in corporate America, and when I decided I wanted to leave corporate America, I was a regional director for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So I had, 50 employees in charge of, over 1,000 different vehicles. I was kind of like, what do I want to do? And, when I thought to myself, kind of like, what am I already doing for free, essentially? and credit was, what came to my mind. So um, that's kind of how Credit Strike and Credit Repair happened. And in a similar fashion, that's how solar happened, and how energy, power solar happened. So over the last couple of months, in dealing in working with a lot of my clients in credit and credit repair, I started to realize that a lot of them were asking questions about their utility bills, their electric bills, how they can save on that, because they've noticed that over the last couple of years, On average, over the last 30 years, utility bills have been raising about 4 to 6% every year. But over the last couple of years, since COVID really, where we've had, periods of hyperinflation, their bills have been going up in some circumstances over 100% in a 12-month time period. So if you were paying maybe $50 a month, a year ago, maybe now you're paying $100 a month, and now it's significantly hurting you and what you can do. So naturally, I decided to kind of look into ways to help my clients. Some of them already had gone solar, and some of them were still kind of making that decision. So I did my research on how I can help my clients with that service, and I ended up deciding to become, a couple months ago, a power energy consultant.
Amazing. Yeah, I've been traveling quite a bit. I was in Europe over the summer, and it seems like it's not just a trend in the US with energy rates going up. Like, it seems like it's something that's pretty significant everywhere. So yeah, I think there's definitely a future in this for sure.
Yeah, so it's gone from being like technology that sounds nice, but it's not. Is it really? Are we ready? Is the technology cheap enough for everyone to adopt it? To now it's at a point where it makes sense for a majority of households.
Yeah.
And you're able to see savings, month one. There's no upfront payments that you need to do. The government in August introduced the Inflation Reduction Act, which in reality can be called like a green energy bill, clean energy bill, because that's kind of one of the major things that program did. Is it committed a ton of money to solar companies, companies in the energy industry, whereas they were getting previously a 26% tax credit. Now households are getting a 30% tax credit, and that is available for the next 10 years roughly. So it's an awesome program. It's helping, it's the way that the government wants to help people reduce their electric bills. They're really trying to help push people to do that. And in the same token, something that I like to tell my clients: everyone is paying for solar. Either you're paying for it on your own roof, or you're going to be paying for it on your neighbor's roof. And the people that are paying for that tax credit, everyone's paying for that tax credit. So the only way you can actually opt in for the savings is by getting solar on your roof. So if you don't get solar on your roof, you're going to be paying and not receiving the tax credit and the savings.
Okay. And I know, kind of going back to the credit score. So again, that ties into being able to participate in this as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So with credit, it's just such an important thing, in everyone, in being eligible to apply for some of the programs with solar. So, not everyone has necessarily, $20,000 maybe laying around that they can invest into, solar panels. The government understands that, solar companies understand that. So the way to opt into the programs that allow you to save money from month one, pretty much what they do is they do a soft pull on your credit. You do need to typically have above a 650 credit. And if you're paying, let's just say, to make things simple, if you're paying $200 a month for your electric bill, on average, you're seeing, 15-30% savings month one. So, you can be paying maybe $175 for solar. But that, it sounds nice, it sounds okay, I guess, maybe for month one, but in reality, over the next 25 years, when that gap widens, because as your electric bill without solar continues to go up, with solar, it stays flat, it's fixed. It would stay at that 175, for example, over the next 25 years. So the gap widens in how much you're saving. So without that 650 credit score, to go back to credit, without the 650 credit score, you wouldn't be eligible potentially. So, with that, either you'd have to pay out of pocket, um, or have to pay the raising electricity rates that you're forced to with your
Mhm.
utility company.
Yeah, I like what you said about kind of the savings compounding over time. I think that's something that a lot of people probably don't think about a lot. I think, the more people that I work with and that I talk to, a lot of people are kind of going month by month and not really thinking long term. So I'm happy that you brought that up. And then also, I know one of the questions that a lot of people have, not necessarily about solar, but kind of going back to the credit repair and how that ties into a lot of other things. So I know that the like getting a credit card for a lot of people is a significant kind of thing, and I know that there's a lot of really great options out there that you've helped a lot of people with. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I think that's going to be relevant to a lot of people here and kind of what's available and, light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, like you said, putting solar aside, just talking about credit and credit cards. So for people that are looking to make maybe small investments into themselves, or into themselves maybe for a business, if they're looking to either start in being an entrepreneur, or maybe they are an entrepreneur and they need a little bit of funding to get you know a course that they to get some knowledge. Maybe they want some sort of software to help them scale the business. One of the best ways to do that, as rather than using your own money directly, is by leveraging a 0% interest credit card. So not a lot of people realize how simple that is to do, where you can just literally Google best 0% interest credit cards, and you're able to do that. And if you have above a 650, 700 credit score, you're typically able to get $5,000, $10,000 with one or two applications. Now, it would be important to kind of just distinguish if you're looking to do this for personal reasons or if you're looking to do it for business reasons. Because if you're doing it for business reasons, the mistake that a lot of people do is that they use their personal credit cards for business reasons, and you're kind of handicapping yourself in the future being able to get access to more credit or capital funding, and being able to use that additional capital to scale the business even further. So that would just be something that I would advise people. If it's for personal reasons, definitely take advantage. There's a lot of 0% interest offers available right now. But if it's for a business, you should be looking into business credit cards, such as like the Chase Inc. business card, which, even as a new business owner with no revenue, you are able to apply and get, if you know what you're doing, $20,000, $30,000 limits, 0% interest for 12 months.
That's a great boost for someone who's just starting, that's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that gives you the capital that you need to get started without having to find investors,
Mhm.
without having to find a partner and give them ownership equity in the company. You can do it yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. And then yeah, after you and I spoke, it's a while ago. I can't remember how long ago it was, but because I know there's a little bit of a difference between what's available like in the US and everywhere else. And I know I'm in Canada, and I had looked at the 0% credit cards here, and there are some too. It's not as many as what you've got available in the US, but it's things I think that people don't necessarily look for. Like in the past, I would go to my bank or what I know, and I would see what they've got available, and in my head, that would be the only thing that was really available. well, plus Costco and, all these retailers that are offering their own credit cards, but there's so much out there. And I'm happy that even though it's a relatively simple thing, I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about actually looking into, like aside, out of the box options, and just really doing a little bit more research in terms of what they might have. Because what I hear from a lot of people is, I don't have money, I don't have access to anything. But I think there's a lot more available to people than they realize. I think a lot of people also, when they get into like post-divorce, or, if their credit takes a hit for some reason, I don't think a lot of people actually think of reaching out to someone maybe like yourself to get that help repairing, because there's pretty much, I would say, unless it's some kind of federal crime, there's a solution to most problems or most challenges. And so I think with credit, I mean, kind of listening to you talk about it and, learning a little bit more about it, I think, like, for me, that sounds very hopeful for a lot of people. And I think it would be great if a lot of people did reach out to you, to, look at what their options are, because I think things might not be as dire as they might think that they are. So I'm really happy to have you on to be able to talk about that. And so if someone was, for example, needing help with credit repair, or let's just, I guess, stick to the credit repair for this moment, how would they go about getting that help? Would they just contact you, or how does this whole service that you provide people, how does this work?
Yeah, and so I'll share obviously some links, with this post, to where they can reach out. They can find me on Instagram. Remote Steve is my Instagram. But the thing that, before they even do decide to come to me, I would just ask them, are they ready for credit repair? So right now, based on kind of where we are, the economy specifically on a macro level, things are getting tough for a lot of people. So specifically revolving credit cards, the debt on credit cards is at historical highs. So there is a lot of people that their credit isn't necessarily the best because maybe they got themselves into a hole with credit cards. So before you go into a credit repair program, you want to make sure that you've solved that income problem. Because what credit repair is not is it's not a way to make money, necessarily. You have to get to a point where you have resolved the income issue. So if you're now, okay, maybe you had an issue in the past, where you had a missed payment, a late payment, a charge off, a collection, maybe even a bankruptcy. The important thing is that is in the past, and it's not an issue that you're currently ongoing. Yeah. Because if it's ongoing, then first you need to forget about credit repair. You need to focus on how can you make more money.
Mhm.
You need to find a way to increase your income so that you can start digging yourself out of that hole. Now, once you've, gotten that taken care of, okay, now, I just need to, I had that issue maybe a year ago. I lost my job during COVID 2 years ago, and I missed a payment, or I had a late payment, but it's still affecting everything I do in my life right now, and I don't want it to continue to affect me negatively. That sounds like you're a person that, maybe you're ready for credit repair, so that we can, on your behalf, help you, get a lot of these items off. Do-it-yourself credit repair is definitely an option for some people too, if you have just a couple items. What I typically tell people with that, though, is just keep in mind there's a learning curve to anything you do. So if your day job is, you're a nurse, you're an electrician, do that. Do you really want to dedicate the hours that it's going to take to learn another trade, to just fix one or two items maybe that you have on your credit? Or does it make more sense to kind of, delegate that to someone else, and be able to focus on your day job? Yeah. So
Use the
that
word.
keep in mind.
Yeah.
And then just a last note on the debt. If going back to that credit card debt, if you have a lot of credit card debt, and you're worried about how can you pay that down, and let's say you've done all you can as far as income goes, the simple thing that I would recommend to people is go to your local credit union, or you can go to Pentagon Federal Credit Union if you don't have a local credit union for whatever reason. Pentagon is one of the best national credit unions, and ask them for a debt consolidation loan. So their personal loans right now are 7.49%, I believe.
That's
So
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, you can consolidate all your credit card debt, which you're probably paying 15 to 20% interest rate on, and consolidate it into one personal loan through Pentagon Federal, or your local credit union. And this way you can pay less interest and really, get to work on cutting that debt down.
Yeah. No, thank you for mentioning that, because I think that's really, really good to know. Really good information to know. And then I did have one last question here. It was a question that was brought up by one of the members in our group about what your thoughts were on 𝙤𝙤, and if you could kind of elaborate a little bit on it. Again, I'm in Canada, so we don't necessarily have that here, so I'm not overly familiar with that. But what are your thoughts on that? Just general thoughts.
Cool. So excellent question. So what I would ask that person that asked that question is, what is your goal, right? And not what is your short-term goal, but what is your long-term goal? Because I think sometimes as consumers, we underestimate the importance of long-term relationships. And that's potentially in a lot of different ways in our lives.
Mhm.
But specifically when it comes to credit, right, it's very important who you decide to bank with as well. So if you're looking to get the best banking products, so specifically mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, maybe funding options for business, business funding options, then you want to be intentional about who you start relationships with. So in my experience, 𝙤𝙤 it's a good product. I wouldn't say it's the best, because what they, it's an online bank. Typically what they do is like a credit builder program. But 𝙤𝙤 doesn't necessarily have the best of those other products. So if you're looking to get eventually a mortgage, an auto loan, credit cards, or business funding, those are things that 𝙤𝙤, might not really be able to help you out with. So if what you're using 𝙤𝙤 for is either their savings account, or maybe you're using it for, their credit builder, what I would recommend is maybe you take a look at some of the other lenders or the other banks and credit unions that offer similar products that you can start building a relationship with. So for example, I mentioned PenFed Credit Union, Pentagon Federal Credit Union. In my opinion, that's one of the best credit unions, because they have excellent mortgage products, they have excellent auto loans, they have excellent actually personal credit cards. So you can, I would recommend, if you don't have a local credit union, you build a relationship with them, so that when it does come time to get funding, get, credit cards, auto loans, mortgages, you're able to leverage that relationship. Every transaction or every product or service you have with the bank strengthens your relationship with them. And a lot of banks and credit unions have not only your big credit score with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, but they have an internal credit score. So if you have a savings account with them, and you have a mortgage, and you have an auto loan, well, now you have a good internal credit score, and they're more likely to approve you for funding if that's what you're looking for in the future.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. That's a really, really good tip. Again, I think it's something probably that some people, when they kind of think of, month to month, they may not necessarily be taking into consideration, but that makes absolute sense. So thank you for bringing that up. That was really all that I had to ask about. I think you've covered so much. I'm sure that if everybody's like me, maybe not, but I usually think of questions kind of afterwards. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is, if there are any additional questions, I'll float those to you, and then we can follow up on those. But thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you think might be valuable for people watching this to know? Is there any last bit of last gold nugget, last thought?
So I do have one thing actually, just
Perfect.
with that last question that you with the chime builder. So if the person, was their intention of having a chime account was to help them build their credit, what I would also urge them to contemplate is secured credit cards with banks and credit unions that graduate into unsecured credit cards. So that's a lot of I know
What does that mean? What does that?
exactly. What does that really mean? There's banks, for example, like Discover, Capital One, and US Bank, which all have secured credit cards. So secured credit cards would mean, for example, you have to open up that secured credit card, you have to place a deposit of maybe $500 or up to like $2,000 typically. And it's going to help you build credit because they're going to now give you a credit limit for whatever quantity of money you give them. After maybe 6 months of you being responsible with their secured credit card, you can graduate into an unsecured credit card, sometimes even without a hard inquiry, because they've seen with them, you built a good relationship, right? That goes back to what I mentioned. So the thing with Chime is that, to my knowledge, Chime does not have an unsecured credit card that you can graduate into. So it goes back to like, what is your goal? If your goal is to build credit, Chime will help you build credit. But then once you build your credit, what are you looking to do? Get an unsecured credit card? Well, then you have to go back to Discover, Capital One, US Bank. So you might as well from the beginning do it with those companies so that you get the benefits in the long run as well.
Okay, no, that makes total sense. And so, would a secured credit card then be good for somebody who might be, say, newer to the country, who doesn't have an established credit score? Would that be something that you would recommend that they do?
Yeah, definitely. So anybody that if you have maybe just a thin credit profile is what we call it in our sector, in our industry. So yeah, maybe you just don't have too many credit. You have maybe one credit card, or maybe you've never even had credit. So the way to start building your credit, an excellent way to do that is that exactly. You can, open up a secured credit card with these major lenders so that, you can start building a relationship with them and eventually move into getting unsecured credit cards.
Perfect. Okay, well, thanks for bringing that up too, because I did have a potential client who wanted to buy my program, but she was new to the country and didn't actually have a credit card, and was not only kind of feeling stuck here, but feeling stuck with other things that she wanted to do because she didn't necessarily know how to kind of get that started. So I appreciate this information as well. I think that's it's good to know, and especially for people that, like you said, have a thin score or thin file, and just people wanting to kind of build up their ratings. So thank you for bringing that up.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. And yeah, and for everybody watching this, we'll be putting up the contact information for Steve, or remote Steve at remote Steve. And yeah, thanks again for all your information. Really appreciate the time. And are you back in the US, or are you still gallivanting around the world?
Yeah. So, and just a little side note, remote Steve, I just decided I like to travel. Thanks in part due to my credit cards that, I'm leveraging to travel hack essentially. I haven't paid for a flight in 5-6 years. And I've traveled to 20 plus different countries. Right now, I am back in New York visiting family, but next year I will be traveling and living in Paraguay. So excited for that.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. And it's funny when you say leveraging credit cards. Just one last thought that popped into my mind. I had a boss who, so I used to work as a head of HR for air traffic control here in my region in Canada. And so we, prior to the pandemic, would travel a lot. And
Mhm.
I didn't really have a great credit card game. And he would always give me a hard time when he would see like the green credit card that I would be taking out to pay. And he leveraged the heck out of all of the cards that he had. And it's funny because when you know how it works and you kind of know, where to go, what to have, like he upgraded me so many times into, business class. He went on vacations. He did so many things. I mean, obviously you have to spend money to be able to do that, but there's so many benefits to being educated about things and to know. And so I appreciate it when there's people like yourself and just to, kind of sharing that knowledge, because there's so much that regular people like us might not necessarily know and that we could be missing out on. So I'm happy that you mentioned the travel as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that it's more complicated than what it really is, when in reality, I mean, you don't have to spend a ton to get a couple free flights a year. If you sign up for Chase, Chase has one of the best travel programs. You have their Chase Freedom, I call it in the industry, it's called the Chase trifecta. They have 3 different credit cards. All your normal spending, you can, use it on the 3 different Chase credit cards that they offer. And then you combine your points whenever you want to travel, and you use it on their Chase Sapphire, either preferred or Chase Sapphire reserved cards. And I was able to fly when I lived in Spain a couple of years ago, I was able to fly my sisters and my mom to Spain with my points. Yeah, and I've been able to fly all over, like I said, Europe, South America with those points. So
Nice. So I think what I just heard you say is that next time when we do a talk, it'll be talking about all your cool travels
yeah,
and
if
where to
anyone
go.
got that, feel free to ask me as well.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time, Stephen. I really appreciate it. And we'll organize something soon again.
Thanks,
That's
Valerie.
my dog barking in the background there. He's been quiet the whole time. But thank you again. And I hope everybody got a lot out of this. And again, if anyone has any additional questions, let me know and we can filter this through Stephen.
Cool. Thanks, Valerie. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.